everyone, I'm back with another YouTube video. I just want to thank everyone so much for just tuning in, for subscribing, for commenting, for reaching out to myself and my family on Instagram. We truly appreciate all the kind words and people sharing their stories, because it only motivates us to continue fighting for this Tonie law and continuing to fight to raise awareness on domestic violence. This video is about isolation, because I think it's something that's extremely common, and abusers always try to isolate the victims from their family, from their friends, or anyone who they feel might be a threat to their relationship, anyone who might shed light on the behavior of the abuser. And that's definitely something that Tonie had to deal with Barry. He knew the people in her life that were a threat to their relationship. And not because anyone was jealous of their relationship or anyone was envious of what they had, but simply because we cared and we knew that he wasn't good for her. And we knew that she had to get out and it was something dangerous. And he couldn't handle that. He couldn't handle the fact that she had people in her corner that convinced her and loved her and cared for her, that they would fight and argue with Tonie to try to convince her and get her to understand that what she was in was unhealthy and it was toxic and it was dangerous. And so I want to make this video telling not only Tonie's story, but also just shedding light on yet another sign of domestic violence. Barry would try to isolate Tonie from her mom, from my mom, from her siblings, from me, from her friends, because he knew that we were all people that were vocal and that were honest, and we cared about Tonie so much that we were not afraid to tell her like it is, or you know, just shed light on him and that he was bad for her. None of us, you know, held our tongue, especially, you know, my aunt, her mom, and my mom and her siblings. They've always been extremely honest with her, because it came from a good place of, Tonie, he's not good for you. And you know, they may have communicated it different ways, and you know, of course they were angry of like, Tonie, why are you not understanding? But it all came from a good place. And Barry knew that as long as Tonie was good with her family, and you know, we were all getting along and all on good terms, he knew that that was a dangerous place for him. Because he knew that as long as we were there to support Tonie, eventually she was going to learn and she was going to walk away from him. And so I think that he would try to play on whatever situation the family was having. So whether Tonie had a disagreement with her mom, he would try to play on that, and he would take that moment of weakness, and he would take that moment where they're, you know, not seeing eye to eye, and he would drill Tonie and say, you see your mom's not a good person. You see your mom, you know, she doesn't like us, and she's jealous of what we have, and she's just envious, and she's just evil. And he would try to convince her that her mom didn't care about her, that her family didn't care about her, and that we were jealous of their relationship and envious. And it's sad that this is so common, and that these abusers are so manipulative and so calculated and so strategic with what they do. And they will try to burn those bridges between their victims and their families, because that's the only way they'll feel in control, and they'll feel like, see, I have her isolated, and she's gonna only need me because she only has me because she's burned all of these bridges. And I'm sure that he got frustrated, because no matter how many times Tonie would argue with her mom, or my mom would be mad at Tonie, no matter how many times they would disagree, at the end of the day we were family, and we always come back together. We're always there for each other no matter what. We don't hold grudges. You know, we may still be upset, but we were always there for each other. And I'm sure that frustrated him to the very end, that these people just don't go away. And so, you know, before Tonie passed, we spent so much time just helping build Tonie back up, and just trying to drill it in her, like, Tonie, you see, like, you have to walk away. It's dangerous. It's not good for you. It's not healthy. You have to get away. And I think she was building up that strength, and you know, just being able to just like break down with her and say, Tonie, like, you need to get out. We love you. And it comes from a good place. And I think that we did a great job of like convincing her, like, please, Tonie, walk away. It's dangerous. And we saw that when she decided upon her ring. We saw that, like, her going over that lump of like, you know what, you guys are right. I need to get away. And when she decided to, go into the shelter, I think, like, in the drive to the shelter, I remember just like, I know she was feeling nervous, but we took every single moment that we can just to convince her, like, we love you and we got your back, and we're going to support you in anything that you do. We got your back, and don't be scared. You're going to be okay. And when we left her there, I think he took that moment of her just being by herself. That was the first time in 3 to 4 days that she was by herself, with none of us in her ear, none of us in her face. That was the first time that she was alone since she got the news that he was cheating. And I think he used that moment to his advantage of knowing that she was not around her family. I don't know how he knew that she wasn't around, but I'm sure he found out that she was alone, and he took that moment to drill her and convince her to just come with him one more time and have one last conversation. It was her moment of weakness, where she was alone, and we spent those 3 days just around her, and she was filled with love, and I felt that confidence in her of like, I gotta get away. It's gonna be a long journey to repair myself mentally, but I'm gonna get away. And we were seeing that in her, because we spent all those days, day in and day out, those 24 hours for each of those days, we spent that time talking to her and drilling her, making her feel love, and making her like, and showing her that your family cares for you, and you got us and we got you. And when she was in that shelter by herself with her daughter, he took that moment and again tried to flip that moment, and again try to convince her that your family just hates me and they don't want us to be together. And the next day, on the 27th, on that morning, we're not sure exactly how it happened, but somehow he convinced her just one more time, just come with me and just hear me out. He took that moment of weakness for her, where she didn't have us around her in that moment, in that morning. And he took that moment, and he was calculated again, and he was strategic, and he was deceitful and manipulative, and he knew what he was doing. He knew her weakness, and he knew how to get in, and he convinced her one more time to go with him. But I know that we did all that we can to make her feel loved and supported. But it was a constant back and forth, and we just needed more time. But he isolated her that one time, that one last time. But I think that our words over those days helped, because I'm sure she put up a fight. And I'm sure that she was telling him something that he didn't want to hear. And so I'm sure she was done with him. And that's why he decided to snap. But I decided to make this video so I can speak to other victims and tell you guys that if your spouse is isolating you, it's calculated. They know exactly what they're doing. They will convince you that the people that loved you your entire life don't love you, or are envious of you, or are jealous of you, or just evil and don't want the best for you. They will convince you that everyone who's ever been good to you has a motive and doesn't want you to be happy. And they're manipulating you, and they're deceiving you, and they know what they're doing. They're calculated. They want to isolate you from anyone who will tell you what's right, from anyone who will tell you the truth, from anyone who will pull that blindfold out of your eyes, from anyone who will expose the abuser for what they are. And they will convince you that these people hate what you guys have. And in reality, that's not the truth. The reality is that your family loves you so much, and sometimes your families get so frustrated with trying to get you out of something, and you're just not listening. And I know it's a battle, and I know that it's so hard to walk away from someone that you love and someone that you care about and someone that you've invested in. But you also have to look at the bigger picture and think that this is a nightmare that can keep getting worse, and it's a tornado that's just gonna keep getting stronger and worse and more destructive. And you need to get away while you can. And for families, I just want to tell you that if there's a child of yours or a niece or a cousin or a friend that you've lost touch with because they're in an abusive relationship, I beg you to just reach out and rebuild those bonds and rebuild those relationships, because they need you. They need you most during those times of isolation. And for victims, I know that there's so many bridges you've burned, and it's to no fault of your own. You were just brainwashed and deceived to believe that these people that were your friends were envious of you. This person, this abuser took time to convince you that the people that you love and that loved you were bad people. But no matter how bad you think it may be that you burn those bridges, try reaching out to those friends, because the ones that truly care for you will forgive you and understand that you're in something that's dangerous and that you're in something that's a nightmare and that you need help in. And families, just don't give up, no matter how frustrating it may get, no matter how hard-headed your child may be and they're not listening or they're not getting out. Never give up. Never stop texting them that you love them. Never stop texting them that you miss them. Never stop texting them that you got their back, because eventually it will pay off, and eventually they'll come back around. But you don't want to have that guilt of being angry with your child and just cutting off ties and just giving up on them, and then you're never able to see them again. So no matter how frustrating it may get, no matter how hard it may seem, and you just get so tired and angry, and you just feel so helpless, just keep fighting for your loved ones. Keep reaching out. Keep trying to convince them that they need to get out. Even if you feel like they're not listening, eventually they will. Eventually they'll reach a breaking point, and they'll know that you're there for them and you love them, and that you'll never give up on them. But understand that they're in a battle that's far worse than we can ever imagine. And for victims, know that the people that have always been there for you, they love you, and they have no motive and no reason to lie to you or want you to be miserable or want you to be unhappy. Your abuser is isolating you because he wants full control. He wants you to eliminate everyone from around you so that you can only depend on him. And he has that control over you. If now you can't walk away because you have nowhere to go. And that's why families, you guys play a role in always reminding your child that they have a home in your home, and that your door is always open and your arms are always open and your hearts are always open for them. They need you. They're in a battle that's a nightmare. And they're going to need you, and they're going to come around one day. Just never give up on them. And victims, when they isolate you, that is a sign. That is a sign that you need to walk away. And it's okay to walk away from something that you've invested so much time in. If you don't see any progress, if something's not beneficial to you and your health, walk away. Because love doesn't hurt. Love isn't mean. Love isn't deceitful or manipulative. So walk away. If they isolate you, remember that you have family that loves you and cares for you, and they just want the best for you. And he's just convinced you that you have no one, but in reality you have an army of people waiting for you and fighting for you. So walk away and just never look back.